Would you like to hear one more song? One more time. Just take those old records on the shelf. I said listen to them by myself. Today's music ain't got the same soul. I like that old time rock and roll. Don't try to take me to a disco. You never even get me out on the floor. In 10 minutes I'll be late for the door. I like that old time rock and roll. Hey, play me that old time rock and roll. That kind of music just soothes my soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. Hook it now. Why don't you play me no tango? Just play some blues with that funky old soul. There's only one sure way to get me to go. Start playing old time rock and roll. Well, call me really, call me what you will. Say I'm old fashioned, say I'm over the hill. Today's music ain't got the same soul. I like that old time rock and roll. Hey, play me that old time rock and roll. The kind of music just soothes my soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. One more now. Play me that old time rock and roll. That kind of music just soothes my soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. A little bit of help now. Come on. Play me that old time rock and roll. That kind of music just soothes my soul. I reminisce about the days of old. Sounds good, man. With that old time rock and roll. Play me that old time rock and roll. That kind of music just soothes my soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. Yeah. Billy Crash, Craddock, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Country Rock, Billy Crash, Craddock. Billy Crash, Craddock, ladies and gentlemen. One more time. Play me that old time rock and roll. That kind of music just soothes my soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. Yeah. Play me that old time rock and roll. That kind of music just soothes my soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. A little bit of help one more time now. Old time rock and roll. That kind of music just soothes my soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. Play me that old time rock and roll. That kind of music just soothes my soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. Well, alright. Billy Crash, Craddock, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Country Rock, Billy Crash, Craddock. Billy Crash, Craddock. Billy Crash, Craddock, ladies and gentlemen.
Your career has always been one of those careers that never got as large as it should have gotten, and I always felt that perhaps your record company didn't promote you the way they should have. What's held you back?
Well, I'll go back to when I was with ABC. We had some hit records with ABC Records, and my career got started off real well. And I don't know exactly who to put the blame or where to point the finger, but it could have been in my past management. Partly record labels has something to do with it. You ask them if they would spend X many dollars to promote such this record or that record, and they always tell you, no, we'll do that after the album sells X many copies. Well, after the album sells X many copies, you don't need all that promotion. You can do it yourself. So I would say between probably my ex-management and partially the record company not getting the records where they should be gotten in the stores, not pushing them like they should have been pushed. I've always wanted to be nominated for Entertainer of the Year, and it seemed like your big record companies, all the artists were nominated, but I never got to be nominated, and I've often wondered why.
Good question. You sure put on a heck of a show.
Thank you. Well, I think an artist owes it to the audience, the fans, to put on a good show. You know, you used to go to a country show, you paid $2.50 and $3 to see a country show. Now it's up $8.50, $7.50, or $12, and I think the people want to be entertained, and they want to see the type of show that they paid to see. So we work hard.
You started your own record label.
Yes.
When did this happen?
I started my own record label with the record Tell Me When I'm Hot. I guess I started it about 3 months ago. And I would go out to do a tour. The reason this came about, I would do tours, and the fans, the first thing would do is jump Crash and say, we can't find your records, Crash. We can't do this. And I would have to tell them that it wasn't my responsibility. I said, I just go in and record the songs. It's up to Capitol Records to get the records out. Well, some of them even said they went as far as to call the record company, or they called the radio stations. The radio stations said they didn't have it. And then I would call back to Capitol Records, and they would say, well, we sent it. We don't know what happened. So I just decided, you know, start my own label. At least the radio station will get it. And I backed them up with another copy to make sure they got it. And because I had a lot of friends in radio, and I was wondering why they didn't have my record or why they didn't play it. So I decided to start my own label and get the record to the fans. If the stores ordered the record, I would be the one that they answer to, the fans, the radio stations. And when they come to ask me why I want the records in the store, I would have to do the explaining. So the record stores will get my records if they want them. And certainly all the DJs have them now, because we have checked, and all of them have them.
This is almost the beginning of a new career for you, isn't it?
Well, I hope so. I hate to say I'm going to start a new career, but I've had a good career. You know, I've had since '71. I've had, I guess I've had 17 top 10s roughly, and about 9 number ones, and I can't complain about my career. But the thing is, I'm starting now with a new label, and it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort. I'm certainly going to need the radio people, industry. I'm going to need the fans, and I've got to work hard.
Well, you have a good start with Tell Me When I'm Hot.
Yes.
That song and Rub It In certainly gets the ladies going, those two songs. Do you purposely look for tunes that stir up the erogenous zones there?
No, I tell you, I look for a song that I think fits Craddock. You know, if I think the song fits me, I record it. In fact, there are some songs that I have recorded I didn't think would be a hit song, but I went on and recorded them anyway, and they were hit records. But I just look for good songs that I think the audience will enjoy. I never look for a song that is sex-oriented. I just look for a good tune.
What were some of those records you didn't think would make it?
I didn't like Easy as Pie when I first heard it. Rory Burke wrote it, and he had it on a cassette tape, and let's face it, I love Roy to death, but he can't sing a lick, and he didn't even have a melody hardly to it, and I stayed up all night to try to learn what he was saying, the melody he was singing. So finally the next morning I went in and I told my producer, I said, I think this is the way it goes, I'm not sure. And we went in and we cut it, and I kept telling him, I said, I don't know about this song, and he said, hey, just wait till we finish it, it's going to be a good record. And it turned out to be my first #1 ballad. So, you know, it's a lot of times you think you know a hit and you don't. So if a producer has a feeling about a song and he really believes in it, I'll go ahead and cut it anyway.
I read that you dropped out of the business after a brief start because producers wanted you to pursue a pop-oriented career, and you wanted to be more of a country singer. And yet when you came back, your first hit was Knocked 3 Times, and so many of your tunes have been pop-oriented.
Well, I I started out, I think it came from when I started out. I first started in the music business, and they started me out in rock and roll. Columbia Records signed me up, and all the labels had people like Ricky Nelson, Fabian, Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis. So Columbia Records, they wanted to try to establish or make a teen idol out of Craddock. So I started out in rock and roll, and I just didn't feel right doing rock and roll back then, you know. So I kind of dropped back out, and I didn't have any big records in the United States. I hit in Australia, but I didn't hit any records in the United States, and it wasn't until about 1971. And when I went in to record, they called me up, my producer called and said, "Crash, we want you to go out and buy Knock 3 times." I said, "I never heard it." He said, "We don't care, just buy it, we're going to record it next week." So I did a cover of Tony Orlando's Knock 3 Times, and 9 weeks later it was #1.
Good timing there.
Yeah.
When you were hanging sheetrock, and I think you worked in a cigarette factory at one point too, didn't you?
Yes.
Did you ever have any doubts that you would make it?
I never even thought I would be in the entertainment business, to be honest. I love singing. I listened to the Grand Ole Opry when I was a kid. I impersonated, I thought I'd go in the bar, and every song I did, I thought I was that particular artist. And I never dreamed that I would get in the business. And I've done much more in the business than I ever thought I would do, so, what can I say?
Gracious. The women do get, as we mentioned, get rather stirred up when you come on stage. Does this ever get dangerous?
I certainly hope so. No, the only time it gets dangerous is when, usually if you've been down, if it's a real wild crowd and you've been down to give a lady a kiss, and sometimes they'll start pulling at your neck from the stage, and sometimes they have a tendency to pull you off balance. That's the only time it ever gets dangerous.
Where did the crash come from?
Playing football in high school.
The crasher, huh?
Yeah, we had a truck driver the other night, and my driver was listening in, and the other driver didn't know who Crash Craddock was. He said he's one of these hot air balloon racers. And he had the other truck driver really believing that, But no, I got the name Crash from playing football.
Still get stage fright?
A little. Just before I go on, I'm a little nervous on every show. But after I get out there and start working, I enjoy it. I have a good time.
Where do you want to be in a few years? The Entertainer of the Year?
Yes, I would love to be, which I doubt if it will ever happen. My personal opinion is it is a very political game, and I think, they say that when they give a definition of Entertainer of the Year, they try to say it's how many records you sell, how you entertain, and how many people you draw at a concert. That's the definition I read in Billboard one time. Entertainer is exactly what it means. An entertainer. You entertain the people, and I try my damnedest to entertain the people, and I've been working hard for, I guess, the last 11 years. In fact, I worked when I was sick. I worked when I couldn't even put on my pants to work. I had a ruptured disc, and my road crew had to dress me to put me on the stage, but I went out and did the show and never been nominated, and it's very aggravating, Of course, I'm happy. Like I said, I never thought I'd get this far into music, and I've done pretty good in the music business, but I would love to be the Entertainer of the Year because I work hard at it.
You think the fact that you don't live in Nashville is what you...
It could have. I don't know. I tell people I love North Carolina. I love my hometown, Greensboro, and that's the reason I haven't moved to Nashville. And probably because I don't live in Nashville and don't know the people as personal as some of the other artists, it may be the reason that I haven't been nominated. I don't know.